You're watching This Week in Louisiana Politics with Fred Childers.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Hope you're having a great Sunday so far. I'm Fred Childers. Thanks for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Politics on your local election headquarters. All right, let's talk about how much money the state has so far. Governor John Bel Edwards is proposing major investments in education and infrastructure in his executive budget. His budget proposal includes $1,500 pay raises for K through 12 teachers and staff. Now, he wants to spend $148 million for education. That will also go toward early childhood education, Title IX investments, and higher education raises. The governor says getting teachers' pay closer to the regional average is crucial to addressing many of the problems.
If ever there was a time to invest in education, it's now. I think we know how significantly the pandemic has adversely affected education at all levels. We know the burden that's been placed on our teachers and support staff, paraprofessionals, our faculty, and so forth.
All right, there you have it. Governor Edwards also committing millions of federal dollars toward infrastructure, including a new Mississippi River Bridge. Less than 24 hours after the governor announced that executive budget, lawmakers began debating what should stay and what should go. Political reporter Shannon Hecht breaks down their arguments.
Louisiana has billions of dollars to spend this year between the American Rescue Act, a budget surplus, and excess. Governor Edwards proposed major, once-in-a-lifetime investments in his executive budget.
Because we haven't had the funds in the past, we simply haven't been able to provide funding for.
One of those projects is a new Mississippi River Bridge in Baton Rouge. The governor proposes to put $500 million away for it, but some lawmakers say that blueprints for a new bridge haven't even been made yet, so it's too soon to commit such a large pot of money to it.
We recognize the need, and while we have these funds, we're going to put them in place so that we can make that bridge ultimately a reality.
Governor Edwards is once again pitching a high pay raise for teachers. But with the economic outlook showing a potential deficit looming in a few years due to multiple taxes rolling off and post-pandemic growth slowing, legislators worry it won't be affordable down the road.
I'm just having a problem in reconciling this in terms of recurring dollars and how we're going to fund the proposed raise.
Lawmakers made their own pleas for projects to be included in this budget, such as infrastructure investments in northern Louisiana, mental health programs, and others they feel should take precedent over what the governor suggested. The full proposed budget will go on to be debated in the regular legislative session this spring. At the Capitol for your local election headquarters, I'm Shannon Hecht.
All right, we've been hearing about that bridge for a long time now. But mobile sports betting is now open in 55 parishes across the state. The highly anticipated wagering apps are expected to bring in a lot of new tax revenue. Betting apps use your location and will block betting from anyone outside of those parishes. Mobile betting is taxed at a rate 5% higher than betting in casinos, but that revenue is set up to go toward a good cause.
25% of all the taxes that are paid on sports betting, both mobile and on property, is going to go to early childhood education.
Now, Johns says the rest of those taxes will go toward programs that help people with gambling addictions. They anticipate sports betting will bring in as much as $30 to $40 million per year. Also happening at the state capitol, the Senate Select Committee on State Police Oversight met after a key investigator there announced his retirement. Lawmakers took a closer look into the ongoing investigations. Rachel Riley reports.
Meeting number 3 of the State Police Oversight Committee and lawmakers and state police continue to work together to find out where the gaps still lie in the agency's policies.
It gets pushed under the rug or get brushed off, and so what I'm saying that it must not be business as usual.
Amid various internal investigations and litigation, state police show back up to work through the organization's issues.
We're going to focus on our policies, our procedures, our practices, and our personnel, and ensure that we are performing in line with best practices.
The committee heard from the State Police Commission, which oversees discipline appeals, the hiring of troopers, and cadet exams. The agency hopes the commission can facilitate positive change, such as body cameras and creating a new position to provide oversight.
One of the proposals is for some reporting to us relative to when body cams aren't being used.
One of the duties that would
like to see in that role of deputy director would also be responsible for investigations as needed.
Some remain unsure if parts of the broken system can be fixed.
I don't believe it's fixable. Now, that's my take.
However, Senator Gerald Boudreaux believes otherwise.
I want to be part of the bridge building and not the wall building. But I think we can do some things right now that are tangible and that we can see some results.
The date for the next meeting is tentative, but they're looking to schedule one between the legislative session and the special sessions. From the Capitol, Rachel Riley, Fox 44 News.
Well, a problem that has faced Louisiana for years is getting renewed attention from Governor Edwards and First Lady Donna Edwards. Sex trafficking is an issue from Shreveport to New Orleans, and Baton Rouge is a hot spot as well. The governor committed to a new effort, spending nearly $3 million to address the issue and improve victims' access to care.
Quite frankly, it never occurred to me that human trafficking might be happening in my hometown. But in fact, it was, and it is, and it's really happening in every community across our state and across the country. The numbers are startling.
A report from the state's newly created Office of Human Trafficking Prevention shows 70% of victims in Louisiana are juveniles. The average age now is 13 years old. Bills are rolling in for the regular legislative session coming up, and one lawmaker is looking to make major changes to the state's Board of Elementary and Secondary Education. Shannon Hecht tells us more about the debate behind the bill.
The Board of Elementary and Secondary Education makes decisions that impacts all children in Louisiana and how they learn. It's an 11-member board, 8 people elected and 3 appointed by the governor. Representative Philip Tarver of Lake Charles wants the board to be only elected members.
You almost can say that the voters' choices or the voters' say in the education matters is a little bit diluted. It dilutes the voice and the vote. My vote personally has not got the same significance as it would intend to.
House Bill 4 is a constitutional amendment, so if it is passed, the people will get the last say. While Tarver does not have any specific instances where the governor's members influence the board as a whole, Bessie was scrutinized last year for the decisions over mask mandates in schools. He says he has nothing against the current appointees, and the bill wouldn't even go into effect until the next administration. He just wants to make sure parents' voices are being heard.
It's not about this governor, it's about any governor having the opportunity to influence. And believe me, you can't say that it doesn't have influence. I mean, I suppose that's the reason they put it in there into the Constitution originally.
The debate around HB 4 will begin when the regular session starts in March.
That was Shannon Hecht reporting. Bills continue to roll in for the regular legislative session. This week, State Representative Valerie Hodges filed a bill that would bolster education around World War II and the Holocaust in schools. She carried this bill last year, and it was killed on the House floor. State Representative Larry Freeman is bringing a bill that would allow the legislature to terminate a declaration of emergency made by the governor. More bills will continue to roll in the coming weeks, and we'll keep an eye on them for you as well. This week, U.S. Senate candidate Gary Chambers picked up his first Louisiana endorsement. Former State Representative Ted James announced he is backing the Baton Rouge native. James says Chambers has spent his career fighting for equities and fighting disparities in his community. James recently picked up a federal position as the SBA administrator for Region 6. Chambers is challenging Senator John Kennedy for that Senate seat. Legislators are making their way back to Baton Rouge this week to kick off the special redistricting session. They will debate new maps that will determine the districts for Congress, Bessie, and the state legislature. This only comes around every 10 years as the census data is released. Follow your local election headquarters for the latest updates throughout the session. Coming up, a Shreveport City official says he's being targeted because he blew the whistle on shady spending, and New Orleans is looking to strengthen its laws to help combat crime. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is your local election headquarters.
Shreveport's former comptroller is now a whistleblower. Ben Hebert is alleging there are multiple problems with the city's accounting department. Hebert says he found major issues within Shreveport's accounting department, and he points to employee data affecting payroll and missing receipts for the mayor's travel. He believes his firing was retaliatory.
Some of these issues included failure to follow established processes and enforce good controls, failure to meet IRS and State Revenue Department time constraints. Ongoing training for the accounting staff was non-existent.
Okay, so Hebert's attorney says they will file age and race discrimination claims with the Equal Employment Commission, along with his whistleblower claims as well, with the Louisiana Commission on Human Rights. State Representative Jason Hughes and New Orleans Councilman at-large J.P. Morrell are working on a bill to expand the state's Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, that's also known as RICO, so it can be a tool for law enforcement. Another bill they're proposing would order restitution against a parent or guardian if a child damages property. But a spokeswoman for the Louisiana Center for Children's Rights isn't completely on board with this proposed legislation.
Other ways that we can hold kids accountable that don't look so much like these enforcement mechanisms that we focus so much on right now.
So the children's rights advocates say more money needs to be invested in vulnerable communities. New Orleans council members assured the group there would be a balance and reiterated they didn't believe more policing was the only solution. Meanwhile, New Orleans continues to battle a widespread spike in all types of violent crime. Area leaders are calling on politicians to address this issue. Jordan Lippincott brings us the details.
For Anthony Jackson, the president of the Police Community Advisory Board, the recent spike in crime hits close to home.
I was on my way home the other night and I heard about no more than 10 to 15 gunshots, and I received calls that night. People were scared, kids were playing outside, and unfortunately they had to run inside.
So Jackson composed a call to action letter, writing that holding city and state officials accountable is the only way to create change. He also says civilians must be involved in the decision-making process.
Some are frustrated, some are angry, some are hopeful. But when you compile all those emotions together, it could be a bad result if solutions are not met.
Jackson listed several solutions in his letter. One calls on Governor John Bel Edwards to take action.
We request that he has the state troopers to patrol the highways. We ask the state legislators, the state senators, the state reps to fight for more lighting on the highways because of the heinous crimes. And we ask, most importantly, that they fight for funding to fund the youth-based programs.
He also says officials going head-to-head in disagreement sends the wrong message.
If we can't be on the same page as two bodies of the law, criminal justice system, then we won't be able to get the bad guys. So again, that's just an example of how we have to provide a united front.
Jordan Lippincott, WGNO News.
Coming up, we're seeing higher violent crime rates in the capital city, what law enforcement wants to do about it, and why one sheriff says juvenile escapees are becoming more frequent, and what needs to happen to stop it. Stay with us.
This is your local election headquarters.
Welcome back. State leaders are trying to come up with a solution for Louisiana's juvenile detention problem after 2 juvenile inmates escaped over the past 2 weeks in Point Coupee Parish. State and local leaders met to discuss how they can tackle this problem. Sheriff Renee Thibodeau says there are simply not enough resources to detain the kids and take care of them. He says the 4 state-run facilities are nearly at capacity.
Can we have a facility that's already built? Can we refurbish it and use it? So that's what we're in the study and looking for that right now. What a major concern is also what it would cost to build a new facility and what is the operational cost every year after that. That's a big concern.
Sheriff Thibodeau says he is hopeful this project can come together with money from the federal and state government, but these talks are at the very early stages and this will be a long process, he says. Well, these escapees are not isolated incidents. Over the last 2 years, Baton Rouge and East Baton Rouge Parish have seen a spike in violent crime. Shannon Hecht helps us understand the trends in crime we've seen and how leaders in the community are working toward a brighter future.
Baton Rouge police are investigating a shooting.
Another shooting happened on Roulette Avenue.
East Baton Rouge Parish saw 170 homicides in 2021.
And another shooting.
So far in 22, there are already 10. Police responded to hundreds of violent crimes, and with news alerts seemingly daily, some members of the community are worried of what the city is becoming.
We give these people that's doing the crimes the power to continue doing the crimes because nobody is speaking out on it.
How did we get here? Baton Rouge has made headlines topping national crime per capita lists for decades.
Baton Rouge is what I would call one of the leading edge cities for floaters because of socioeconomic history.
Ed Shahada, a sociology professor at LSU, says part of the higher crime rates is the culture of the South.
There's been a history of violence as a slightly more acceptable method to resolve problems.
He points to, in part, low income in the state and the lack of investment in education. Louisiana ranks second highest for poverty, according to a report by the Louisiana Budget Project.
Look at every other list that Louisiana, Baton Rouge is compared to: literacy, poverty, all of those things. Louisiana is either at the top or the bottom of where you don't want to be.
Louisiana also has a high rate of incarceration. A statewide effort to reduce that population has dropped it down to the second highest amount in the country.
If locking people up worked, then Louisiana would have the lowest crime rate in the United States.
So why has there been such a major spike in the last couple years?
Meanwhile, 14,000 new cases of COVID-19.
A global pandemic.
Police patrolling, court systems, social services, those are still very restricted because of the pandemic.
He says no child care, no work, and no support leads to violent crimes skyrocketing.
We've seen a lot of daytime shootings, more than before, more female victims. We've also seen a closer relationship between suspects and victims. We've had more domestic violence homicides than we've ever had.
Many of the conflicts that led to violence have been retaliatory over online conflicts, drugs, or domestic violence.
Homicide is rarely random.
What is being done? The Baton Rouge Police Department has begun training in social media to detect when an online conflict could lead to a dangerous event. And there are many valuable organizations already working hard from the ground up. Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome has launched a new effort this year with stronger ties between federal partners, law enforcement agencies around the parish, and community groups.
Let me tell you where we're falling short. People are not connected to the resources.
Change is a group created by mothers who have lost their children to violence.
We just have to stop being afraid of our kids.
Elizabeth Robinson lost her son in 2018 when he was shot and killed on Cadillac Street. Now she works to help families get their kids out of vulnerable situations that could lead them to a life of crime.
You have to ask for that help because we don't know. Open your doors to us and let us try to help you.
Leaders recognize that the greatest way to get ahead of crime is to change the culture at home.
We have to be engaged as parents. There are programs out there to help families get through those situations.
Mayor Broome this week announced a strategic plan where community groups, elected officials, and law enforcement are able to work together to tackle the issue.
It's past time for us to wake up and understand the reality of the situation.
Addressing the root cause of crime, investing in the most vulnerable areas in the community, and highlighting resources is a common message to help drive down the crime rate. Shahada says when a community gets unorganized, it can recover as the pandemic eases and mindsets shift.
We can come back from this once we, as a community, make the decision to insert ourselves back into the communities that are most vulnerable.
Again, Shannon Hecht reporting. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is your local election headquarters.
Welcome back. Well, we have a full week ahead. Check this out. Baton Rouge General's president and CEO is speaking at the Baton Rouge Press Club. That's tomorrow. And Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser is unveiling 2 new markers on the Civil Rights Trail this week. Tuesday, he will be in New Orleans to recognize the McDonough 19 School. And Wednesday, he will travel to Pineville to unveil the marker for the 761st Tank Battalion. And the big headline of this week, of course, the state's redistricting session. That will begin Tuesday, and we will be there and let you know what happens. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Politics. Stay safe, stay informed, and I'll see you next Sunday right here on your local election headquarters.